Brady, my almost 18-year-old, he's got a plate full of beef on weck and crab cakes and the buffalo mac and cheese. Tate's over there playing Moss, which is what the kids call it now. They don't call it Three Flies Up. And I can't find Jake. 5-year-old Jake. I'm like, oh my God, I had one job. Jake is walking around with another kid. The kid's got this satchel on, and this 8-year-old kid is handing out Jello shots. So Jake's walking around with Jello, which he loves Jello.
You lost him, and he's taking Jello shots. I mean,
don't tell Liza. I don't think my wife listens to the podcast anyway. She'll never know. Hello again, and welcome to the Fitz and Whit podcast. Yes, Whit, I lost my voice again, screaming in Buffalo. Thank you for joining us. I'm Fitz, and he's Whit. And there are only 3 games left in the NFL season. Championship Sunday this week, and 2 weeks later, the big one, Super Bowl 59.
No doubt, brother. It's good times, man. This was an exciting weekend. We're going to get to a little bit of all the adventures, the games, some fun had by both of us. But let's first talk about how we got here. You know, I was in Philly hanging out with my boys, a little dad and son's boys trip. You know how that goes.
You double dip. That's 2 weeks in a row, right?
You know what? I'm getting really good at this whole train and plane thing. Okay. I'm an expert now, Fitz. I even have made friends in the train halls now. I'm ready to go. But you made a return home as a legend of the game. Buffalo Bills, baby. We've heard of Sleepless in Seattle, but how about Shirtless in Buffalo?
Yeah.
Bills legend. What else would you do, Fitz? Come on, man. Talk to me about this weekend. I saw it. I saw it, but I want to hear about it.
Well, yeah, we haven't talked about it yet, so this will be the first time. I'll run you through it. I'll just say this. We talked about it on the podcast last week. It was one of those things. They invited me to be the legend of the game. You go out, you do a hey, you get the crowd going, and at the end you say, where else would you rather be than right here, right now?
And that's a good saying, by the way. I'm kind of against the Rams one.
What is the Rams one? Rams house? What is theirs?
Let's rampede. I mean, how bad is that?
No, ours has history. It's Marv Levy. It means a lot. Anyway, so Liza's in California for soccer. I missed the season openers of the basketball games because of our game in Baltimore last week. So I'm feeling bad. Am I going to have to miss my daughter's basketball games again? I coach 3 teams. Can't let all these girls down. The flight options are horrible, but I end up being able to fly in the day of the game, flying back on Monday, but we get there. And I just felt like no matter what was going to happen, I had to find a way to get there to be the legend of the game, not because the team needed me, but the fans needed me. They did. They were calling for it. They were calling for my shirt to come off. I was combing chest hair on Twitter, and wow, it lived up to and was probably the coolest thing I've ever done. We step out. It's after the coin toss. I'm the last thing that happens before they kick the ball off. And so the talk the whole time, tailgated beforehand, which we'll get to that later because I got some funny stories about that. But the talk was, Fitz, you taking your shirt off? Fitz, what do you do? That was the whole thing. And it's like, well, I got to find the pacing of when I'm going to do this. So I get the crowd hyped a little bit. I stop everybody and say, hold on, before I ask you a question. And I'm telling you, when I ripped my jacket off with nothing underneath, that had to be the closest I've ever felt to being a rock star in my life. I mean, the crowd went crazy. It was an out-of-body experience. I don't know what I said. I don't know what I look like. Now, there are plenty of pictures to show me what I look like, but pretty cool experience. I had my dad there. I had my 3 boys there right on the sideline. So it was a really neat thing to be able to share with my family and with the fans in Buffalo. And the best part about it, fans are juiced. They're riled up, kick off, and the Ravens go down and score right away on the first drive.
Isn't that how it always works? Isn't that how it always works?
Like, did I fail as the legend of the game, or I think they got pumped up? But yeah, it was good. It was fun.
They had to stick with you for the long run, man. That's it. That's all it was. They had to stick with you. But you know what? I have been to, obviously, doing Thursday Night Football with you and NFL on Prime. We've been to Buffalo. I have gotten the chance to go around in the tailgate scene with Ryan Fitzpatrick, or Fitzmagic as they call him. And I always say that's one of the things I enjoyed most in our first couple of years of getting to do this together is, it's been cool whenever I've gotten to have a Rams game or go to a Bengals game and be there. And obviously you enjoy those moments, but to watch, like to kind of just be able to like, all right, you were like, hey, you want to come with me? I was like, yeah. So I went with you, and to watch just people's love and appreciation for you and in the city of Buffalo and really what you've brought there. To me, it was an opportunity for me to see what I would say is I've always known Ryan Fitzpatrick, and obviously we've gotten to rekindle that friendship over the last 3 years. But to get to see what Fitz magic looks like to those Buffalo Bills fans is unbelievable, dude. I'm proud of you. Hey, that was cold. Now, I mean, you had to.
It was cold.
That was cold. I mean, Philly was snowing. It was cold there, but in Buffalo, I know how that cold is, and that wind and air is a little different.
I got to admit, though, it wasn't too windy, which was great. And our seats, we were in the Dunn Tire club level. They were outside. It was open air, but they have these heaters right above you. And so if you're in rows 1 through 5, you can't feel the heaters. And that was the initial taking off of the shirt. We were in row 2, I think, that year, and it was cold. That was the New England game a few years back. We were in row 6, and I was right under one of those heaters. And my 5-year-old Jake, by the third quarter, was like, Dad, can I take my jacket off? Dad, can I take my bib off? Like, we were just throwing layers of clothes off because it was so nice being right directly under that heater. And you turn red. It looks like the Kenny Rogers Roasters chicken episode from Seinfeld, which is pretty funny. But I also want to say about the tailgating scene, it was different from when me and you went. When me and you went, we did the whole deal, right? We did the hammer lot. Yep. We did the bowling ball shot, the vuvuzela, cooking pizzas in the filing cabinet.
And filing cabinets.
We did the whole deal. I literally, we got dropped off right in front of the practice facility, which is right across from the stadium. And I will tell you, we were going to lot 2, which was, maybe took me 500 feet, that many steps to get there. Within the first 3 minutes of getting out of the van and trying to make our way to the tailgate, I was given a chicken wing necklace. I was given a hat that was sealskin that didn't fit my head, of course, and certainly wouldn't fit yours either. I got this really cool bison hat, which is behind me here. I don't know if you can see it, but it was pretty sick. And then there was a huge flask with my name on it that I got. And then there was this lady holding a sign. I don't know if she knew I was coming out right there or not, that said, "Let me comb your chest hair."
Yeah.
So
why wouldn't I?
I walked over. We took the picture. Her husband handed her the pic. I had to lift the shirt up. She combed the chest hair, nicely coiffed and ready to go for the big moment. But it was such a special day. And then in true Buffalo fashion, because I know you've seen this before at the tailgates too. First of all, I lose my kids because I'm taking pictures and smiling and saying hi to everybody. But I am starting to look for him. Brady, my almost 18-year-old, he's got a plate full of beef on weck and crab cakes and the
Brady.
Buffalo mac and cheese. Of course, Tate's over there playing moss, which is what the kids call it now. They don't call it 3 flies up. Okay, great. And I can't find Jake, 5-year-old Jake. I'm like, oh my God, I had one job. Like, where is my son? My dad's there too, but my dad's over underneath one of the heaters, staying warm, of course. Jake is walking around with another kid. The kid's got this satchel on, and it's open, and I look in the satchel, and this 8-year-old kid is handing out Jello shots. So Jake's walking around with Jello, which he loves Jello, but thank God he didn't have any, and they're passing out Jello shots to the adults. So
you lost him, and he's taking Jello shots. I mean,
don't tell Liza. I don't think my wife listens to the podcast anyway. She'll never know. But
well, dude, I'm proud y'all sat outside in the cold. I mean, if you know me, the Whitworths in Philly, we never touched the air, so we sat in multiple spots, all of which were suites.
Okay, but what was the entrance this time? Because I know last time you walked in kind of with the fans, and did you have that same? And you guys were in Rams gear this time, right?
Oh yeah, so we got a little different. This time we actually went in on the team buses under the stadium, so to come in that way. So that was the kids were pretty jacked. That I mean, you can imagine. You know how serious those bus rides are.
Yeah. So what bus were you on? Were you on a bus with the players, or was it just coaches? Or
no, mostly staff and stuff like that. Okay. So it was one of the last buses, but we actually went in with the first buses, so it was very locked in. All the coaches and players. So it was serious. But you're talking about the big moment. We always love to do this. You did this with me with the hoodies. I got to do it with you going shirtless in Buffalo. There were some pretty good tweets out there, Fitz, to the reactions. We got to talk about this some.
Well, before we read these tweets, I just want to say I thought the pictures looked good. I thought they really represented where I'm at in my health journey right now. I told you last week I started rucking.
Yes, you did. I'm proud of you.
22 miles of rucking in 4 days.
Let's freaking go.
Yes. Yeah, I'm obsessed now. I'm absolutely obsessed. 5 miles, 5 miles, 5 miles, 7 miles the last day. And dude, I'm obsessed. I really like it. So thank you for turning me on to that. But I thought the bod was rocking.
All right. Well, let's see what one week. Look at this.
What'd they say?
All right. We got some good ones here. All right. It's a couple of my favorites. We have Fuzzy Fitzmagic. We that one's a good one.
Love that. Of course.
Got the sweater vest on. That's a good one.
We
kind of expected that one. I'm going to save my favorite for last. I got one says Fitz needs to be something for the Bills: a coach, OC, QB coach, CEO, mayor, head of security. I don't know if I had you as a big Dom in Buffalo, but that's impressive. If somebody got you in the security department, that means you could look kind of scary.
Yeah, I could be the liaison that helps him, hooks him up with the local restaurants and stuff. That's just what Big Dom does too. Just take the security part out of it. I could do that, I think.
There you go. And then somebody right after your reference to athletic tests for quarterbacks last week, he won't pass the athletic test anymore.
Come on. I mean,
no, that body could still only get 200 yards in a season, I promise.
304, by the way, but yes.
And these are my two favorites right here. I always knew I had the body of an elite athlete. That one's great.
I like that.
My absolute favorite is guys like this took over England back in the day. That's fantastic.
I do think that part of the charm of me as a player, for the people that did enjoy watching me play, was, man, he looks like that. I feel like I could be out there doing it.
That's
I think
right.
that was it. And McAfee always said, the brain of a Harvard man, but the heart of a plumber, and that always stuck with me. But I do think there was a little bit of, wow, he's just like us and he's running around acting a fool out there. That's interesting. It was so much fun. I would like to hear, I kind of want to hear a little bit more about your Philly trip. So you go in, and by the way, as players, there's usually two buses, bus 1 and bus 2. I was always a bus 1 guy, which just meant you got there earlier, because I would much rather wait at the stadium, in the locker room, go out on the field and take a lap or putz around for a little bit. I used to throw just a little 10-yard warm up with one of the equipment guys. And then there were the bus 2 guys that got there a little bit later, usually coming on with their headphones, psyched, ready to go. That always made me nervous to get there late. I never wanted to feel like I was rushed on game day. I'm assuming you were probably a bus 1 guy, or did it change throughout your career?
I was actually bus 1 my entire career till probably the last 2 or 3 years. I started becoming kind of a bus 2 guy. I got tired of sitting in there. I would get bored.
Yeah.
I'd almost at that point, when I was, at that time I was 38, 39, and 40. It's like if I spent 3 hours in there, I'm ready for a nap. So it's like I just needed to hang out at the hotel, have some coffee, catch the last bus. I want to sprint to get dressed. That's the thing that kind of get me going a little bit. I don't want to be waiting around for anything. All right. So that's why I moved.
By the end of your career, you're probably smoking cigarettes in the locker room too at halftime, knowing you.
I would have if they'd let me. There's no doubt about it.
Not because you're a smoker, because you're just an old man with that gray beard.
I'm going to move on from that. It was a fun trip. The boys and I went over on Thursday night and got in on Friday. Had the opportunity to go on the Jason Kelce show Friday night. So it was a cool experience for the boys.
Okay. I want to ask you about that, though. So first of all, did you stay at the Four Seasons again?
I did.
Of course you did. Elevator ride, the whole deal.
We got the whole thing in.
Okay, talk to me about the Kelce show. So I watched it. I've now seen all 3 episodes. You're on there with Ocho Cinco and Goodell. I have 2 questions. Number 1, the setup of the episode. How much did you have to do or rehearse or talk about before you went on? And number 2, poor Goodell with that pillow. Then he was sitting in the chair. There was like a throw pillow, and it was so awkward, and he didn't know what to do with it.
He couldn't get comfortable.
He just kept moving the pillow to the. So that was more of a statement than a question. But what was the setup for that show? What'd you have to do?
Really nothing. The day before, they had me get on a quick call just to kind of let me know how they film the show, and then just a couple things that might come up. It wasn't like an extensive thing or anything. It's just real quick on the phone.
Okay.
And then at the show, really got there right before they get started. Jason kind of does his opening deal, and they kind of told us what we were going to do. The helmet thing we did at the end. They told us that was coming up. They wanted to kind of be like, first time you see it is when you read it off the prompter. So, it was very, they want it to be kind of dry and just you reacting naturally to the card. So that part was kind of cool. And so it was fun. I mean, it wasn't like there was a lot of prep going into it. You just go on and be a natural, and some things are going to come up. He's going to ask some questions. And just kind of keep a natural conversation. And at the end, they love to have some comedy. So it was cool. The boys got to sit in the crowd. Nick Sirianni was actually there as well.
I saw. They showed him on TV for a minute. Yeah,
Sirianni. It was great. That was a really cool experience. I'm trying to think. I don't think I've never been on a late night show. So that's the first time on a late night show. So Kels, appreciate you having me on. So we had a good time with that. And then Saturday, we did kind of a little tour like you and I would do. Rocky statue. We went to the Reading Terminal Market. Had to show the boys that. Our boys best. At the Knicks took care of us again. They took us over. They just opened a Philly cheesesteak spot. They got us some Philly cheesesteaks. That was awesome. But I got to say this. I had a big dad moment in this trip.
Okay.
I taught the boys how to bring an Xbox on the trip in their carry-on bag, and this was like a game changer for them. So they brought Xbox. Our first night, I have dinner plans. Like, we're going to dinner. We're going to hang out. The boys canceled dinner, and they're like, Dad, we found out there's a Raising Cane's on DoorDash. We want a DoorDash Raising Cane's, and we want to play Xbox all night. And I was like, you know what? Go for it, guys. It sounds great to me. I'm going to go down to the lobby bar. I'm going to have a couple cocktails and have dinner, and you guys have at it. So they ate Raising Cane's and played Xbox all night. It was like they thought they were 19 years old. I mean,
that's
They
sick.
thought they were driving and buying cigarettes at this point. I mean, they thought they were that cool. So that was cool. And then Saturday was statues, museums, all that good stuff. You know what Michael and a dinosaur museum's like. So,
oh my God,
it was,
he knew everything already, and he was end up giving the tour by the end to everybody else. So
that's it.
Yeah.
And then Sunday morning was get on the team buses, go to the stadium. I thought that was unbelievable. Obviously, the week before I got to go in with the crowd. This week going in with the buses, going under the tunnel, getting a chance to kind of be there for that beginning part of the game, even for my sons, because they've only ever been to a game right before kickoff, seen me on the sideline or something, maybe late in my career, they would get to come down there. Them to just see guys kind of out there throwing the football. They're like, Dad, Cooper Kupp and Puka are like out here like in sweats, just kind of throwing the ball to each other. Like, don't they have to play a game? I'm like, yeah, dude, but this is like a way they get out here and relax a little bit, get the nerves out. So that was cool. And then obviously Philadelphia, man. I mean, what a setting. I think you can't help but be a little envious of that's how you play home games. That crowd, that energy, that stadium, it is intimidating to say the least. That game was, an amazing game. But, man, just when you're in there in that arena in pregame, the music, the DJs down on the field, it is incredible.
And you can say whatever you want about, there was a lot of talk with Buffalo, should they have a dome, whatever, but the game that you got in the open air with the elements and the cold, and the game that I got in the open air, the snow started falling a little bit, not as much as it was there. There's just something to be said about that feeling and that atmosphere and the way that the fans embrace it too.
Yep.
They as soon as that weather started coming in, the snow started coming down a little bit in Buffalo, like that's what the fans live for. They live for those moments late in the year to be able to say, like, this is us. This is what we embody. This is who we are. We're tough. We're blue collar. And we had 2 of those games, which was awesome. And again, we're going to have 2 more of them probably this weekend with the elements and the weather, at least an element of cold. We'll see, with that for me as a quarterback, the wind was always the biggest thing. And in Buffalo, there wasn't a whole lot of wind, which was great. How was it there? Well, you were in a box, so you have no idea what.
Well, I was down on the field for pregame, but no, I mean, I think that's the thing they were happy about is that it was pretty dry. Like even in the air, and all the precipitation for the most part wasn't wet, so it kind of felt like it was at least dry precipitation to where the ball's not going to be constantly getting wet the whole time.
Yeah,
and it wasn't really that windy at the beginning, and then that really it came in pretty heavy, once you got into the game, and obviously you saw the field kind of like when we were in Cleveland completely change at one point of the game from being a clean green field to being covered in snow. It was pretty awesome though to be sitting in that box with my sons and watching this game, and to kind of think back of the year the Rams had to start your season 1-4. To go into the bye week, like, man, what do we do? Everybody's injured. There's not a lot of future here in this season. Like, how are we possibly going to fight ourselves all the way back to the playoffs? For them to go on the run they did, win the division, get in the playoffs, win in the opening round, the way they performed against the Vikings with everything really emotionally on the line for them, with everything that's going on in Los Angeles, and then to come to Philadelphia And to put a performance on like that, where the reality is you're on the 13-yard line, one touchdown away from beating the Philadelphia Eagles on the road in the snow as a West Coast team. That just doesn't happen very often, to kind of play that kind of game and those elements. Matthew Stafford was out of his mind. He was playing unbelievable. Man, it was an emotional loss though. Cause I mean, you look at it in the locker room, Coach McVay Sean was upset, man. He was sad. I think it's one of those, it's wild to think not only were they in that moment, I think they kind of feel like they let the moment go, because the reality is if you went snap in and snap out of that game, the Rams probably won more snaps of the game, but they gave up the biggest plays of the entire game. And that's what ended up dictating the game. Huge fumbles that got returned, obviously the big plays by Saquon. And then the rest of the game, you kind of feel like, man, we were in control the whole time and we let this game slip out of our hands. And so I think they walk away from that one, it's going to hurt for a little while, because I think they thought they had it. And they thought, Sean said after the game in his press conference, in my mind, we were walking out of here 29-28. And I didn't even think anything else was possible when we had the ball at the 13-yard line with Matthew Stafford and this team.
Yeah, and I think in those moments too, losses end of the season, that's all tough, but it's also in the back of your mind, you're thinking change is coming, whatever it is. And with the Rams,
every year it's going to happen to every team.
It's going to happen to every team, but you think back to, are they going to trade Cooper Kupp? There was maybe some stuff about Matthew Stafford, whether it was true or not, but it just seems like there's going to be some changes coming on that roster, which there are every year. For me, watching the Bills game, there were 3 really key moments, I thought, in that game. Mark Andrews catches the ball and they're driving down the field. He's got a bunch of space in front of him. Bernard punches that thing out and recovers it. It was a nervous feeling at that point in the stadium of, these Ravens are coming. The Bills offense has sort of been stalling a little bit. That was an enormous play. And then at the end, for me, the Bills, they're on the 1-yard line, 3rd and 1. Maybe it was a long one. Let's call it 1 3/4. And Josh lines up in shotgun. And they ended up running Josh, but it's like, why are we not under center? Quarterback sneak. They stopped him, quarterback sneak, touchdown, putting the game away, out of reach. I didn't love that decision because they end up kicking the field goal to go up 8. And then Lamar made some unbelievable plays on that last drive. He did what MVPs do. He brought them all the way down. They had the 2-point play, and that would be the 3rd biggest play, obviously. It just gutted for Mark Andrews, the drop 2-point conversion. And there's been a lot of chatter about that. Here's what I would say. If I'm Lamar Jackson, I'm thinking, gosh, I could have given him a much better pass. Like, you feel bad that it wasn't a more catchable ball or easier. And if I'm Mark Andrews, I'm like, I got to catch that thing 100 out of 100. I mean, that's a catch that he's made a ton in his career. There were obviously elements and different things, but I feel bad if I'm Lamar that I didn't give him the best pass I possibly could. But if you're Mark Andrews, you know that he knows with the fumble and that drop 2-point conversion, he's just feeling terrible. So, but they move on, man. The Eagles move on, which will be an exciting game. The Bills move on, and the Bills finished 10-0 at home this season. And I just think, that's the fans were so excited after the game, yes, to move on, but it's just such a badge of honor when the Bills win in Buffalo. That's just, it makes, and I think that's true with a lot of cities. I'm sure that's true in Philly too, but it makes Monday a whole lot easier, start to the week when you're coming off a win on the weekend. But
yeah, I saw the clip of Deion Dawkins this week sitting on the bench, and he says, he looks around, he's talking to his teammates, and he says, you ever just look around and look at these fans and just think about how cool this is? And he's like, these are our people. And it was just cool, to see him having this moment of reflection. He's blowing the smoke, you can see the cold air, you can tell freezing. He's got the big jacket on, and he's sitting there just in the game, in the moment. This is our place. This is our home. These are our people, these fans. Just take a second. He's telling his teammate, just take a second and look around, man. This is our people. And it's just, you can feel that when you go there, and you can feel that when you play there, that you are playing more than just the 53 guys that are on this roster and ever how many are active or whatever for the game. You are playing more than that. you are playing this entire community when you go up there to play the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, and it's the culture, and it rubs off. It's the guys in the locker room that have been there for a while know and feel that, and it rubs off on all the new guys that are coming in every year, right? You feel it right away. The last thing I was going to say about the Buffalo, then we can move on to something else. We're out there at the tailgate, and this lady comes up to me all excited, big hug, and she's shaking and just, can we get a picture? Yeah, sure, no problem. And she says, this is going to be the second best picture I got today. And I'm like, oh, okay. Do you mind telling me who the first was? And she said, I just saw Chad Michael Murray over there. Oh my God, it was incredible. So it made me feel, good and humble all in one. But Chad Michael Murray was at the game along with, I said hi to Roger, your best buddy. Roger Goodell was there.
Roger showed up.
Josie Altidore was there. He's one of the new minority owners. And Vince Carter. Also, one of the new minority owners of the team. So it was cool to see them there. Pretty special day for the Buffalo Bills and their fans. But I'm still curious, the in-game experience in Philly with kids in Rams jerseys. I'm thinking there had to be some issues at some point.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, as I said, we stayed in the suite, so it wasn't too bad. And I'll be honest, I'll tell you what really helped. Me going the week before, and, Lane Johnson obviously didn't make their first team All-Pro, so I'd gotten a jersey. We shared this last week, and I wore it for a minute in the game. I'm telling you, to know that these Eagles fans are fanatics, every fan I ran into was like, wait, you were here last week. You were here last week. You had Lane's jersey on. It actually eased me in. That we were kind of friends, but not. Okay. So what we did, though, is obviously we went with the Rams, and Kevin Demoff and obviously them, set us up to where the boys could come to the game with me. And we were in their suite for a little while, and you know that is. I mean, the GM's in there, the owner's in there.
It's serious.
It's very
a tight
serious.
mood.
Very serious. And I'm giving the boys very strict instructions, like, you act like this, you're quiet. Michael, don't you get opinionated. Like, don't you start saying they should do this or that.
Yeah. Now you know how I feel, though, when I had my Bills fans in the
exactly.
LA, and they kept raising their hands for Bills touchdowns after scoring 40-something points, and I was just smacking them. No.
Exactly.
But anyway, go ahead.
So they were very, very serious and locked in. And then obviously we went over, we had also Jason and Kylie Kelsey had given us tickets to come over with them. And I had another former teammate, John Sullivan. His family was in there, and Bo was in there. Don't get jealous.
Bo.
I'm still hanging out with Bo. So we go over to their suite for like another probably half the game. We're hanging out. The kids are having a blast. Kylie's hanging out with the boys, and they're talking trash to each other throughout the game as everything's going back and forth. That's really what Michael wanted to do. I want to go over there and talk trash with Kylie, so I know she gets into it. So they're having a good time. We pop over, see the Staffords and the Cups and their kids, and Michael and Drew play with all the kids that are there. And everybody's having a great time. It's wonderful. And about, right in the fourth quarter, I was like, it's about to get serious. We need to get back over to the Ram side, get back in our suite where we were at. So we decided to go over there, and the boys pulled me aside and they go, hey, Dad, if it's not too difficult, could we stay over here in the fun suite? I'm like, what's wrong? They're like, that's kind of the serious suite. We like it in the fun suite. So we go back to the serious suite. We lock in for the end of the game. Obviously, an incredible ending. Rams having a chance there, just coming up a little short, and it's emotional. We get our stuff. I'm like, all right, boys, we had our suitcases and our bags with us at the stadium. We had a car taking us straight to the train. You'd be proud of me. We went straight to the train to get out of there. But it is at this point when that game ends, it is an absolute blizzard. I mean, there is snow pouring. Fans are running out of there. Obviously, Eagles fans are going crazy. And I decide, all right, boys, we got to get our stuff and we got to make this first train. We're not waiting for the next one. So we got to go. So this security guard's taking us. We get out of the stadium. I have no idea where Lot J is, but I soon find out. Lot J is not inside the gates where you are, not around the fans. I get in this mob of Eagles fans. The boys are getting pelted with snowballs. I'm getting called all kinds of obscene things. But at this point, the whole friends you were here last week thing is completely out the window. Eagles fans are being Eagles fans. But I'll say this, probably every, I'd call it 50-50. Guy walk up in the middle of that, like, hey, man, we take a picture real quick. I'm getting hit with snowballs, screaming. I'm screaming at one fan, like, hey, dude, watch your mouth. And the other fan's like, dude, you're awesome. Take a picture with me. So it's just the boys have to be so confused right now. Like, they have no idea what to expect. One guy's mean, one person's nice.
It's an experience, though. But
it was the experience. We got in that car. We are in a full sweat. We've been toting our suitcases. The ground is ice. There's snow falling everywhere. We're soaking wet, covered in snow. And we got in the car and the boys were like, whoa, like that is crazy, Dad.
Yeah.
Like that was an epic moment. I'm not sure I didn't screen some things the boys probably need to hear too, but there was a couple guys that might have got a little close to my ear and some of the things they were saying, Fitz. I don't do too well.
You don't take well to that.
I don't like when people get in my circle. That's for sure.
I will say this. I would never, as a fan, confront you. You obviously can't hide anywhere, but if I was 20 feet away from you, I would also have been making snowballs, not throwing them at your children, but throwing them at that big bald head of yours for sure.
Well, let me tell you this, Fitz. One thing you would enjoy, we got to the train. We're waiting on our train. It's obviously a lot of Eagles fans doing the same thing.
Yeah. Yep.
Getting on the train with us. And there's a group of young college kids. I'm pretty sure they're all like in college, maybe a little older.
Oh, no.
And one of them has got some funny thing that I don't know who I look like or somebody, but it's some name of somebody. And it's something you and I would do where we yell out Sherm or whoever to somebody that looks like somebody. I'm
sure they had a few beverages too. I'm sure they were maybe 10 to 15 beverages deep.
Oh yeah, they were very frat boyish, and so the kid keeps doing it, and they're laughing, and so I'm with the boys, and I'm like, all right, they're a pretty harmless group. I'm gonna mess with him if he does it one more time, and I tell Michael, I'm like, hey, watch this if the kid does it again. So we're waiting on the train, and the kid, it's Doke or Dork or I don't know what he was saying, but I couldn't understand him. So he says it again, and all of them kind of snicker in their circle. And I'll beeline straight for the circle. And I lean over like it's girls and boys. And I lean over and I'm like, hey, you got something funny you want to say? Say it right to my face.
Oh, no.
And I just stare at him.
He just shit his pants.
Eyes water. His eyes start watering. And he goes, I just want to say hello. I just want to say hello. And I was like, come on, man. If you're going to mess with me, you got to let me mess with you. I give him a hug and start laughing. Great. And the whole crew dies. They all fall out laughing. I was like, come on, man. I'm just messing with you like you were messing with me.
I'm proud of you for not getting in a fight when your boys are getting pelted with snowballs.
No chance.
Maybe. Walter Payton, Man of the Year, can't be doing that,
No chance.
All right, good. Playoffs? We're talking about playoffs. You bet we are. Get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Scoring touchdowns is key to winning in the playoffs, and you can score big by betting on them at DraftKings, the number one place to bet touchdowns. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple, like a player to score 6. I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills' one and only James Cook.
Mine's easy because I watched him do it enough last weekend. I'm going with Saquon Barkley in Philadelphia. So go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. New DraftKings customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code FITZandWIT. That's code FITZandWIT for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
Thank you for joining us today for the Fitz and Whit podcast. Coming up, we're going to break down how we see the two games on Championship Sunday playing out. Commanders and Eagles in the NFC and Bills and Chiefs in the AFC. Yes, my voice is still struggling from yelling in Buffalo. But before we get to that, what do you do when you run out of awards to win? Oh, you invent a new one.
Oh, I know where you're going.
I'm watching your late night show or Kelsey's late night show, and you're on it, and you're chumming it up with Goodell. You're chumming it up with Kels. You're feeling good. You got 2 linemen in the limelight. And then all of a sudden, you start talking to the commish about the Shield. There's a new award that you're proposing, and I know that he's going to say yes. Tell me what the Shield is, and I'll tell you if it's a good idea or not.
Well, listen, anytime linemen get together, we're going to complain about what? The fact that there's nothing that really singles out an individual lineman for having a great season. There's nothing positive about us in this entire game. The only thing you keep up with, did we give up a sack or did we get a penalty? Are we lined up too deep in the backfield? Did we hold?
Were you
something
downfield?
Positive. Yeah, Can I get a positive thing about us anywhere in the NFL record books So I don't want to hear how many games I started and played in and all that. I want something positive. So Jason and I proposed the question on the show. We should start an offensive lineman award. And what should it be called? And so it was just a generic question.
The Whitworth.
No question. No. So we kind of went through a couple words and I was like, I don't know. And I was sitting there thinking about it and I was like, you know what? You told me you might ask me this. So while we were sitting around in the green room, I was like thinking about the shield because I saw it on Rodgers, one of his like pullovers he had, the NFL shield on it. And I was like, man, what do we talk about all the time? I can remember as I came up in the league, all the league ever talks about is the shield, and we protect the shield. Every decision is protect the shield, right? Mm-hmm. Like no matter what we're talking about, dancing, inappropriate behavior, the discipline and consistency we want out of like how we do everything in the NFL. When you talk about broadcast partners, the games we put on TV, protect the shield at all times, right? And so, who are our greatest protectors? NFL offensive linemen. There's no question about it. So we're the people that protect the quarterback. We provide the lanes for the running back, and it's our job in those situations when somebody needs to they need somebody to stand up for them. We're there. So I said, you know what? We should call the award the Shield because the greatest protectors are O-linemen, and we'll give the Shield award to O-linemen. So took a couple notes. Here we are. The Shield Award will celebrate excellence in offensive line play. That's
you've already written this out.
Don't worry. I'm ready. We're proposing this right now. Okay. The Shield Award would honor the best offensive lineman in the NFL each season.
Okay.
It'll symbolize protection, durability, and the unsung heroics of the players who shield their teammates and drive their teams forward. That's what the Shield's all about, baby. And we're going to mix it up. Listen, my idea was the trophy could be something that looks like the NFL Shield. Have some guys on there like pass protector, maybe in a run block stance, kind of a mixture of everything an offensive lineman does. And the award will have a lot to do with that as well. What's your pass block win rate? We keep all this stuff now, right? Run block win rate, all these different sites, all that. We're going to use all this information. Let's collect it and find a way to recognize the best players, whether it's through punishing blocks, the least amount of penalties, the least amount of sacks allowed.
Yeah.
Your contribution fits. So I'm pushing for it.
So it's kind of like the Outland Trophy of college, but we're bringing it to the NFL. Right?
We're going to bring it to the NFL. Now, the problem's going to be how do you select it? And then one of the things I kind of told Rodgers, I think you need to do media members that are former offensive linemen, a collection of those, a collection of guys who were Hall of Fame offensive linemen that maybe, let's say, every 3 to 5 years rotate on and off of a panel.
I like that. Yep.
Okay. And then maybe even some of your, sports writers that, are your esteemed sports writers in the league that you probably have a couple of those guys that would rotate on and off as well. And
but what about, I guess, if you had like the offensive line coaches of the NFL vote on it? Yeah, they've coached guys. They pointing at one guy or the other, whatever. They like him because there's familiarity with him. But what if you asked like the defensive line coaches to have a say in the award of like who they felt like the best offensive lineman was?
Because most of the time when you get out of the offensive line world, I just lose all credibility for the things that most of those guys say because it has to do with things that don't have anything to do with playing the position.
So do you think that a tackle, it will ever not be a tackle?
It's like you quarterbacks, so you love it when non-quarterbacks start giving opinions about what the quarterback should do.
I'm just saying, let's say this, Jason Kelce, great player, right? So the media members start to vote. So last year, let's say Jason Kelce wins the award. Do you think a center should ever win the award over a left or right tackle?
We actually had that discussion, and I told them that I kind of go with the general philosophy of, if there's an aisle beside you, then you're held in higher esteem. So if you work on the edges and there's nobody behind you and you live in a phone booth, then we kind of got to move over a spot probably until you're alive. But now, do I think a center could be one? Heck yeah. If a guy has that kind of performance and he plays that well, yeah, I definitely think there could be a guy that could win one. So, I mean, you look at Kelsey's impact in the Eagles and obviously the tush push and everything else. I think he definitely could be a guy who would have been deserving of winning the honor. If I look into this year, I would look at, a couple of the best offenses in the NFL and best players year in and year out.
Yeah, give me a couple names. Who would be up for it? Like,
I think because of his impact this season, the success they've had, I think Deion Dawkins is definitely in that conversation for Buffalo. I think Joe Thuney, obviously his impact with the Chiefs, definitely in that conversation with what he's done. Penei Sewell with the Lions, Lane Johnson with the Eagles. But as I said on the show, to me, it still goes into championship boxing for me if I had to pick the award. Lane Johnson has kind of been the guy who has set the standard, him and Trent Williams at tackle play over the last few years. And so to me right now, with Trent's season being injured and not really playing much, it's got to go to Lane Johnson.
Okay. I'm kind of on board with this. I like it. And you kind of had me with the Tooney thing, because Tooney is a guard, but he's had to go out and play tackle, and his performance has been very impressive. I do think every year this is going to go to a tackle, just like almost every year the MVP goes to a quarterback. But that's why the tackles get paid the big bucks too.
I mean, come on. Listen, I'm glad we have your support. I mean, I just saw Peyton Manning say last week that he's not giving out Christmas gifts unless they go to the playoffs. So
oh my God,
we need some quarterbacks that are like at least supporting us a little bit. Like, just give us a little love. It'd be great. Here's
what I would recommend, though. You want to put, guys blocking on the shield. Can you leave Deion Dawkins and his stance out, please? Because I don't know that we want to teach that stance to young offensive linemen that are learning how to block. I don't know how he does it. He's so amazing.
He's a crazy good athlete.
Watching him warm up, you want to talk about watermelons for calves, not cantaloupes, watermelons. Unbelievable. And I finally got to say what's up to our guy Spencer Brown, by the way. And he is, I gave him a hug.
Playing unbelievable.
Dude, I gave him a hug. I think he's 6'12". Yes. I mean, he is enormous. But very cool. That offense line's been great all year.
This episode of the Fitz and Whit podcast is brought to you by BetterHelp. Ask yourself, what do you want your 2025 story to be? Life isn't about resolutions that fade by February. It's about picking up the pen and becoming the author of your own life. Think of therapy as your writing partner, helping you to create the meaningful story you deserve to live. BetterHelp is fully online, making therapy affordable and convenient, serving over 5 million people worldwide. Write your story with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/FitzandWhit today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/FitzandWhit.
This is the Fitz and Whit podcast, and with Championship Sunday in our near future, it's time we went on the record with how we think these games will go. This first one, Whit, Commanders and Eagles. The Eagles are favored by 5.5. This one's at 3 p.m. Eastern on Sunday on Fox. Right now, the over-under is set at around 48 points. Looks like it's going to be cold. Not a whole lot of snow expected, though, although we know how that can change. I think this is going to be a great game. I think we're going to see a lot of points. Jayden Daniels and the boys, they've gone over 40 points 4 times this year. We saw it last week. Kid just continues to amaze us with his play. And, the thing that, with me, the thing that gets me the most about him in the game's biggest moments, none of it bothers him. There's a very specific play from this last game. When you're sitting there watching it, it's cover 0. It's an all-out blitz. They have guys that are unblocked coming right at him. Your hot throw is to the flat. He goes to throw it to the flat. The flat is covered. They've got a guy running down to cover the flat. And so he progresses to number 2 with cover 0 and a guy in his face. Nobody does that. You're not supposed to do that. And he throws a ball to Zach Ertz about 3 steps before he gets out of his route on the corner. Zach Ertz turns around. It's right in the breadbasket. This kid, his accuracy, his poise, we obviously know about his ability to run. And now kind of this, we're worried about Cliff Kingsbury and his offenses and how they've fallen off a cliff in years past. It just seems like they've hit their stride at the right time.
It really does. I mean, I go back to even our game. I can remember, I got the opportunity to sit down with him that week before, leading into our Thursday night football game. And I told y'all when I came back, man, he looked tired and he looked like a guy who'd been a number 1 pick, who's had all this expectations, gone through that whole rookie year. Here you are, y'all started hot, y'all right in this thing. You're surprising everybody. You get a rib injury, you're beat up. And, you remember he kind of had a little stretch there during that time where, obviously the ribs were bothering him. He wasn't running as much. They didn't have as many things in the offense really built around some of the things they did early with him. And you kind of saw a little bit of that rookie lull in his season. And then I kind of, my thing was when you talk about this team and really what they were built on and what was the biggest change of all is that this culture and this atmosphere, and we use that word, but what does that look like? And what it is, it's a self-belief. You've seen multiple clips of guys going, hey, telling people during a game mic'd up, or like conversations they're having with other people, man, it's just different that Five's here now. It's different now. It's different now. You keep hearing this word from all those different guys of the self-belief of what they're capable of is completely changed. And when you have that, that is something really special that you got to bottle up and keep. And so they make it through that stretch. They get our Thursday night game. That gives you a 10-day window. And then all of a sudden they make it through that stretch and they survive a little bit and they get to their bye week. And I think what's interesting is sometimes we see these teams, the Rams, a week 6 bye. They go 1-4. They get in their bye week. They fix everything. They come out of it. The Eagles started 2-2, go to their bye week, fix everything. People are like, oh, this Eagles team isn't as good as all the talent that's on it. What do? They come out of that bye week, and they've looked like the team that we expected them to be with all that talent on their roster since. The Commanders get this late bye in week 14, and really ever since then, week by week, they just be getting better. There's more self-belief. They feel good. They're in a rhythm. They've really started to show what they're capable of again. I think that they're a dangerous team because they believe in themselves. The quarterback is clearly capable of doing all kinds of things. And to your point, that play was great that you brought up. I also think of the one where they bring pressure off the edge, and he doesn't even care about what his reads are. He realizes that he's got a free edge to his right. He literally catches the snap, just starts taking off running, and the DB can't catch him. And he goes and gets yards. And I'm like, this dude he's like, man, when you say, oh, man, somebody plays so free, it's like backyard football. He literally looks like, you know what? Just whatever the game presents, as soon as I catch the football, like, I'm going to do it. And the ball's going to come out fast. I'm going to make quick decisions. My decision-making's always going to be immediate. He doesn't look like he hesitates with one thought during a game, which I think is so impressive for a young player.
Yeah, and I don't know if we're talking about the same play, but there was one. It was pressure off the left, free rusher, and he almost, I don't know if he even thinks about it or if it's just so natural to him at this point, but he almost sets him up with where the guy is running to get him, and then he doesn't have a chance to touch him, and he runs and he takes off. And the other thing that I love, and we made mention of this way earlier in the season, and Lamar's the same way, is you've got all these, outside people saying, oh, you got to slide, you got to do this. He knows how to take and he knows how to avoid hits. Yep. He really does. He's done a great job with it all year. One of the plays he got banged up on, he got hit in the back, is when he slid. And I think from that moment on, it was like, I know what I'm doing here. Like, I'm elusive, I'm quick, I know when to get down. I know when I'm taking hits, how to take hits. And then that little thing that he does on the sideline is so cool, where like he just kind of delays for a second and steps out of bounds. Like, oh, this was really easy. I'm just going to, step out of bounds.
The casual swag right there, as I call it. But I think it is interesting, too, Fitz. You see a guy like this have this success as a rookie quarterback and to a level where nobody really has. You think of the other guys, to me, that have I'm just trying to think of rookies like Roethlisberger. I think, there's been a couple guys throughout the years, their rookie years, been on great teams, made it to championships. But kind of in all those scenarios, you'd say, oh, man, the defense led that football team. Like, they were a defensive football team, and they just won the moments they needed to. This is the opposite. He's flat out carrying this team as a rookie quarterback.
He was the number 2 pick, which means what? They were horrible the year before. Yeah. Like, they were the second worst team in the league. And it's not like they added a lot of different things. Yeah, they changed a lot organizationally, obviously a new coach, but he's kind of the main piece of what is new. And like you said, he's lifted up everybody. And the other thing I'll say, what makes them very dangerous, is Washington might be the most explosive offense left.
Yep.
Right? I mean, Philly is dang explosive, and Devontae on the outside, and AJ, who, they really haven't had a ton of production lately, and Saquon, the ultimate home run hitter. So you could certainly argue that the Eagles might be more explosive, but Washington's right up there with them. And you saw it with Terry McLaurin catching a screen and taking it to the house. You saw it with De'Ami Brown. They covered his eyes, and he still caught the ball down the field. But it's a new guy every week, too, with these guys. It's been really impressive. And then the ultimate weapon in Jayden Daniels. Super excited to watch the game.
Yeah, I know. I think if I had to make a prediction here, I think one of the things that's going to be a huge factor in this game is Sam Cosmi getting hurt. Their right guard for the Commanders. Definitely, their best player up front. He's had an awesome year. He's played great for them. And he was a big part of their success against this Eagles team, because he's going to be the guy that would be matched up with Jalen Carter, who's obviously been unbelievable this year, has had a heck of a year, and really a big part of why Vic Fangio can sit back there and play these shell coverages and do all these things is when he's got guys up front that can stop the run with 4 guys and they can get after the passer. Jalen Carter, his opportunity to have a huge impact in this game, that's a big thing to lose Sam Cosmi to an ACL. I know Dan Quinn shared how sad they were about that just because the man, the leader he is, and obviously what a great football player he is. But I think that will have impact, especially when you're talking about a defensive coordinator who likes to sit back and make you drive the length of the field anyways. Now for him to have an advantage up front where, Jalen Carter's got a chance to dictate the terms on this game. That to me is different because remember what we're talking about is you're going to try and man blitz Jayden Daniels and he's going to be able to run everywhere he wants to away from where those pressures are or really have an idea of where he's going to go with the ball. It's a little different when you're going to be able to create pressure up the middle and everyone else is sitting around waiting for him to make a mistake or to get out there and tackle him when he gets out on the edges. So I think that creates an advantage for the Eagles there defensively. So I honestly kind of see this as one that the Commanders will keep close, but eventually I think Saquon Barkley, does what he's been doing and runs the football well, and the Eagles hit some explosives this week. I think finally we'll see Hurts and this offense in the passing game. You got to think about it. Snow and wind this past week, the week before with Green Bay, it was kind of nasty weather game. Just in the sense of the wind and everything else. I just think you're going to get some of those environments. But I think with no precipitation, we'll see this Eagles offense open up a little bit, and I lean towards the Eagles taking this one home.
Eagles win by how many? You don't even give me a score. Just tell me how many points they're going to win by.
I'm going to go Eagles. I think they're going to win by less than a touchdown, but more than a field goal. So I'm going to put it somewhere in that 4 to 6 range. That's
so exactly what Vegas said. You're just looking at the spread.
I'm probably going to go Eagles by 4.
Well, okay. The two things, the great equalizers for the Commanders, one, divisional matchup. Now, we saw that, and we talked about it a lot when it was Baltimore and Pittsburgh. That ended up working out. Baltimore was a much better team. And then the second thing, 4th down with the Commanders. My goodness. I don't know if it's an NFL record, but every time they flash those statistics up there,
it's crazy.
It is insane. And I think, they're going for it. Maybe it's, 4th and 1 to 4th and 6 or whatever it is. And it's decent down in distances, but Jayden Daniels, again, it just goes to the narrative. This kid has ice in his veins. And so you go to a game like this where Philly's going to put up points and the Commanders know they're going to have to match them just like they did in the Detroit game. They're going to have to score a bunch of points to win. They're going to have to score over 30 to win this game for sure. If they do, it's going to be an absolute shootout. I don't want to pick against Philly, though.
Come on, give me your pick. Look, you wouldn't pick 8 weeks ago. Will you pick now? I mean,
yeah,
come on,
I'm going to pick now. I'm going to pick now. I'm going to go Philly by 9.
Oh, wow.
Philly by 9.
Big win. All right.
Big win.
All right. Well, let's flip it over to the AFC side. I know what your opinions are going to be here, but let's set it up. Chiefs.
Bills still okay.
6:30 Eastern on CBS. The Chiefs are favored by 1.5. This is I don't know. I know what that makes me think.
You're supposed to get 3, I think, if you're the home team. Is that right?
Yeah, total 48.5 points. That's the over-under. And then 30% chance of precipitation, cold enough for some snow. Okay. If you can be impartial, give us your opinion on this game and tell me what you think is going to happen.
Well, just a few more things to set it up. This is the 4th time in 5 years they'll have met in the playoffs.
How many of them have the Bills won? No, I'm asking. It's a genuine question.
They haven't. I wrote them down right here.
Correct me if I'm wrong here. 7 straight AFC championships for the Chiefs.
7
How
straight.
How crazy is that?
It's insane. Patrick Mahomes, 7 years in a row now, all 7 years as a day one starter. He's made it to the AFC championship game. I think they have become what the Patriots were, which is you're either a huge Chiefs fan or you hate them. Everybody else just hates them. Why? Because they always win. And this year, I'm talking about and trying to speak it into existence of like they can't keep winning these games. They kept winning the games, but they're in a good place right now. They're playing great football. Their defense is playing great. Spirits are high. Travis Kelce all of a sudden does what Travis does in the playoffs. Patrick Mahomes.
A great example of that, Fitz, is the penalty thing. I mean, It's just the truth. I understand people have their opinions about the Chiefs and their penalties, and yes, we've seen it a lot. Let me tell you another reason we've all seen it a lot. They're on TV all the freaking time in prime time because they're really freaking good. So you just think you see more happening for them. It happens all across the league. Penalties go a lot of different directions. If you look at the statistics, they're not as crazy as people make them out to be. You'd actually be shocked to see that sometimes it's not as much as you think that goes one way or the other. Right? And in this game, I thought it was crazy because if you look at the back view for the head ref in that game, there is no chance you see that as anything other than helmet to helmet hit because the guy went high when he hit Mahomes and his helmet launches backwards.
Yeah, but what about the next one?
And you can't fix it. Okay, my thing about the next one, you're getting mad about a rule that exists, not the fact that it's the Chiefs. That is a dumb rule. Quarterbacks should not be allowed to run around and dive down on the ground and not get hit. I think it's the stupidest thing ever. It should be taken out of the league as fast as they can. They need to get down like every other football player, and you shouldn't have protections that don't matter. But if we're going to be honest, we already saw this happen with Trevor Lawrence. What did the Texans player also have? The crown in his helmet, and he was as low as his helmet could get, and he was for sure trying to take the crown of his helmet and hit Mahomes as hard as he could. That already happened to them once before this year. So we could flip it around and say, is this not the second instance, D'Amico Ryans, that we've seen one of your players crown down trying to hit a quarterback?
Give me a break.
I'm just, look at the clip. Look at the clip.
First of all,
crown of the helmet is leading.
First of all,
crown of the helmet's leading.
Second of all, when I saw that play, and I was like, oh my God, Mahomes,
I think it was
flopped.
Bullshit too.
No, hold on.
The crown was down.
But I was with Bills fans when I saw that play, and one of them was like, yeah, but Josh does that sometimes too. And 100%. It's true. Like they've weaponized it, right? I mean, look, I love that.
And we need to take it out.
I love that the protections are in place for a quarterback in the pocket, hitting him low, hitting him in the head, agree. Now landing on him too hard. Great. Because look, none of us want to watch these games when the backup quarterbacks are in, right? We want our stars to be on the field playing. That's why they made the change. That's why the protections are in place. But now for a quarterback to weaponize some of these, we've also got to take that part out of it, right? We've got to take that part out of it. But I'm looking forward to this game. I do think it's a great matchup. Obviously, the Bills won the matchup during the regular season, 30-21. Josh Allen had that amazing touchdown run. It's happened before, yes. But
come on, give me your case. I want to hear it. Let me hear it.
Well, it's not even a big case. It's like, I feel like it's going to be similar to what happened in the Baltimore game with Buffalo. It's going to be two heavyweights going at it. It's not going to be very high scoring, which I think the high scoring plays to the advantage of the Bills, but I think it's just going to be a knockdown, drag out, and which quarterback has the ball last. I think it's going to be that type of game. I really do. And in my heart of hearts, I want the Bills to win. I think this is a toss-up. I think it could go either way. But I think it's the Bills' time. I think it's the Bills' time to finally knock off the champs and get to the Super Bowl.
You know what? I would agree with you. I've made it a habit to pick against the Chiefs in the playoffs, and they keep winning, so I kind of feel like I'm a part of it.
Us. Yeah.
Yeah, but, this year I've been Chiefs all the way. Like, somebody's got to beat them and prove to me that they can take them down. I'm very torn on this one because I love the Buffalo Bills and I want to pick them, but I'm scared that means I don't know. I don't know what that means. I feel like I'm going to be good or bad luck, and I don't know which direction. But I think I am going with the Bills.
This was Tate's predicament. Tate's predicament.
Oh yeah, because he
3 games in a row. Yeah, he didn't want to go to the game. We're out of it now. We're in a win streak for Tate, so maybe this will be your turnaround too.
I know. Here's what I get to too. I start going, man. All right, I have friends on both teams.
I know. I hate that
both
too.
Teams. Like, what do I do? All right. Here's my philosophy. I think what Joe Brady and Aaron Kromer have come together and been able to do with this Buffalo offense, it's different. It's what I said all season long, that I think with Josh and keep what I'm saying in mind. Yes, Josh is Josh. He's going to put his Superman cape on and do Superman things, but him being able to step back and just run a good offense, like the running game, the philosophy they have every week. They're 4 to 5, maybe 6 plays a game. They're going to bring a 6th lineman in. They're going to run it. They're going to throw it. They're going to do a little bit of all that in it. Just the philosophy they have of controlling the game and not always have to try to create explosives. Like, oh, let's drop back with Josh Moore. Let's do more crazy stuff with Josh because he can do it. That is what, to me, has started to separate them, Fitz, and it started to put them in a different light to me to how they can win.
But I would argue that they're kind of morphing into the Chiefs on offense, right? A little bit.
I agree. And that's what my point is that you're going to possess the ball a little bit. You're going to just control the game. You're going to let the other team make the mistakes, right? The truth is more games are lost than won. Like, you go out and lose the game. And here's why I say that. Do you remember when we had the Falcons game and Raheem Morris said that stats are for losers?
Yeah.
Remember Tony was like, no, they're not, blah, 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 blah. I think I'm going to be able to show you that that's both true and false.
Okay.
All right. This past weekend, all 4 of the winners this weekend in the divisional round, were outgained in total yards. None of them outgained the other team in
yards. Stats are for
yards.
losers.
Stats are for losers. But they also all had 0 turnovers, all the winners, and all the losers had 10 turnovers together. So plus 10 in turnover margin. Okay?
Yep.
This year, the Bills, what did they finish in turnover differential, Fitz?
I got to think first. I have to.
Plus 24.
Yeah.
Since Josh Allen's been the starter, every single year before this season combined, they aren't plus 24.
Wow.
And here's my point when we talk about Lamar and the Ravens.
I feel good right now, Whit. Keep going.
You do? My point when we talk about Lamar and the Ravens. You know the difference in them and the Chiefs? Lamar, since he's been the starter with the Ravens, they're minus 12 in 8 playoff games. Now, he hasn't played in every one of those games, but the Ravens in those 8 playoff games since he became the starter are minus 12 in turnover.
He had 2 on Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what the Chiefs are in that same span in 19 playoff games?
Plus a million.
Plus 6 in 19 playoff games. They have only lost the turnover differential 4 times in 19 playoff games. 19 of them. One of those was a Super Bowl. One of those was against the Bengals in the AFC Championship. They actually won one that they didn't have the turnover differential. But that my point is that like they go in and say, we're not going to beat us. You're going to have to beat us. So the Bills are becoming more like the Chiefs than the Ravens. We don't have to go create a million explosives.
Yeah.
What we got to do is take care of the football and make you beat us, not us beat ourselves. And that's why I think the Bills are going to get it done this weekend in the AFC Championship. I'm going Bills, Eagles in the Super Bowl.
Dude, it's time. I do too. I think it's the Bills' time. I'll say this about watching Josh last Sunday. Patience. That was the biggest word when I was sitting there watching him. I was like, you almost don't recognize him from what he was 5 years ago and how patient of a quarterback he is now. And what does that mean? It means what you're saying, not forcing the ball, taking what the defense is giving you, and also understanding the flow of the game. What type of game is this going to be? That being said, what I would love to see for the Bills, and I would love to see, there's going to be a lot of man coverage. Amari Cooper has been nowhere. He threw one pass to him in this last game. It was a hitch route. There's a miscommunication. Josh kind of dirted it out of bounds. Keon Coleman didn't have a ton of involvement in the game. Dalton Kincaid has been pretty quiet. A lot of these passes have been going to the running backs. Curtis Samuel has been a nice addition the last few weeks to the passing game and has really woken up the last few weeks. But I would love to see a few of these down the field shots attempted and completed. I would love to see some explosives in this game just to kind of get the Chiefs on their heels too, because jumping out to a lead is going to be a big thing for the Bills in this game so that they can keep the pedal to the metal. But I do agree with you. I think it's their year. It's finally going to happen. But look, that atmosphere is tough. It is tough to go to Arrowhead and win. It is loud. It is noisy. It is Patrick Mahomes in playoff mode. It's going to be an awesome one. I'm thinking about looking at tickets and going out with.
Oh,
I haven't yet. I've got to talk to Liz when she gets back from this California soccer tournament. But it's going to be an epic battle between these two great quarterbacks.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I think though that part of what you've been chirping about this all year. I think one of their greatest strengths is the fact that who is it for the Bills that you go into this game and go, I got to take this guy away? It's complicated. The backs are getting out just as much as anybody in the NFL. You could throw it to the tight ends. We could bring a 6th lineman in, and all of a sudden we're running play actions and throwing 3-level throws. Like there's so many different things this offense can do to you. Then they can spread you out, and Josh might be running it, and the linemen are pulling in front of him, or is he getting it out on these perimeter screens? Like, who knows, right? And so I think the best thing they present in this game is that for Steve Spagnuolo, who's an amazing coordinator and has proven his championship pedigree, is it's not as easy as I just shut this down. And I think that is a challenge in a game like this, and it gives them the opportunity to do exactly what you said, have some patience and just take their plays. And I think if they can force the Chiefs to have to beat them and not give it to them, it's going to be a great game. It's going to be a challenging game for both sides. But, man, this one's going to be an epic matchup for sure. Every time these two face each other, it's going to be crazy.
I can't wait. And I'm going to put in one request for a play call from Joe Brady.
Okay.
Somewhere on the first drive, I want you to get Josh in a situation where he can run the ball. He's got to get at least 3, 4, 5 yards downfield, lower his left shoulder, and hit somebody. Get all the nerves out, get all the anxiety out and gone, and let him do what he's done his whole life, which is be a football player, throw the ball around the yard, run with it. But again, epic matchup. Can't wait. We are now in this era. It was Brady and Manning forever.
Yep.
And it was Brady. They got the best of Manning for the most part. And now we're in the Mahomes and Allen era, and it's been all Mahomes. It's been very one-sided so far. Can Josh and the Buffalo Bills finally do it, get over the hump, and get to the Super Bowl? It's going to be awesome. I can't wait to watch.
This has been the Fitz and Whit podcast. Join us next week when Fitz will attempt to either look gracious in the wake of a Bills loss or professional in the wake of a Bills victory. Any show can tell you what happens on Championship Sunday. At Fitz and Whit, we'll tell you how it happened, and we'll also tell you what happens next. Till then, don't take this stuff too seriously. After all, it's only life and death.
I'm going to drink some tea.